Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
And do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
MJ is the voice behind the World of Conscious Positive Thinking podcast, where she explores how mindset and energy shape everyday life. Her show opens a gateway to spiritual tools, timeless teachings, and a conscious community.
I hope you all are walking into the light in these days that might seem very gloom. This is MJ. We're here with Military Broadcast Radio, or MBR Radio, mbradio.us, here with the World of Conscious Positive Thinking. Today is going to be very, very open for each and every one of you who want your voices heard. I implore you to either tag us in, ask us for a link. H-Train is in the studio. He is working the phones. I will put the phone number up here momentarily. And then if you want, you can definitely call in, express how you feel. There is no right and there is no wrong. How do they say? There he is. There's my boy. I hear the train. I hear the train a-coming, rolling down the drains. What's that? Cash. Is that a Cash song? That's right. So before we get off, two things I want to do today. Number one, somebody, only one person, but they started to realize that, hey, MJ, numbers really do. I've been trying to throw numbers at you and why numbers are important. And if you were born up in the 60s and 70s, there was a song called Signs. There are signs everywhere from God giving you messages, but you must become aware. You must have grace and humility. You must have positive thought processes and perspective. If you don't have a positive perspective thought processing, I encourage you to breathe deeply and tap your thymus and sit back before you say, type, or do anything. That is my way to try to say, why do I feel this way, right? So today is episode number 56. It's called The Aftershock. Before I even realized what the episode meant, I want you to read what these angels, and by the way, everybody asked me, where do I get this information? And it is called the angel number signs. You can go on Google and later, but it's called the angel number signs. This one is by Michelle Newton. And then all you have to do is you put your number in, and you're like, why does this number stick? I knew I had to come on today and not take a radio day. I'm not healed all the way, just like many of you are probably still in shock, anger, disbelief, discord, anxious, stressed, dumbfounded. And then the biggest one is anger. You're angry and you want to retaliate, right? Because that's the ego and the judgment's way of saying, this is what we need to do now. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I want you to know that. What the number today, episode 56, means. The angels are assisting you to feel balanced and harmonious. They are surrounding you, your home and loved ones, bringing security and stability to all. Your angel number contains an ascending number pattern, 5, 6, going into the numbers. The message contained within your total angel number is amplified 100 folds. This is time of call to pay attention big time to the awareness of what's going on around you. Your angel power word is new direction. If the path that you have been leading is not working for you, it is now time to take a new stance, a new direction, a new thought, a new processing. We move forward. We don't look at the back. We honor, we affirm, we validate, we love, we heal, we let go. New direction. Number 56. It makes you feel like things have been very up and down lately, and that you have barely been putting one foot in front of the other. During this time, however, you have learned many valuable lessons and skills which have resulted in you becoming a very resilient person. Rest assured now that the angels are guiding you to match an easier road up ahead. When I read that, because it's going to be now part of my thing every morning, I was like, and there you are again, to have the faith of God and these angels to put these words so perfectly to match what is in our existence. But you have to have that faith to say, thank you, right? Honor that Pinot, that higher divine intuitive body that you have, that gut feeling that there is something higher. There's something more powerful. There is something so magical about awareness. Boy, when I learned awareness, my life really took a change. Besides my classes, it's the awareness part. I don't want to use the word sickening, but I know that's been a lot of the word being used between our children at prayer being slaughtered, between a refugee removing herself from war in Ukraine and just being here in a free country to be stabbed by somebody who is mentally ill. I implore you with grace and humility, help those unhealed, help them. And now we have a man, and I'm going to call him a godly man. He believed in God Almighty. He wanted you to understand why he believed in it. And he was welcoming your words. And yes, for some who got too radical, the man's ego and judgment would come out and say, back it up, or say something sarcastic, or try to prove an existential point. That is only man. I dare to find a man out there who doesn't put on a warrior or a shield of armor when their masculine energy or their feminine energy that's been hijacked by masculine energy becomes that warrior. It's very hard. That being said, I want everybody to give me 2 minutes, because there's one thing that I do every morning is I sing prayer. I don't really speak prayer because music resonates more with me than it does in a lifetime. So this morning, take a minute. If you're watching, just close your eyes for a moment as I read you a prayer that we wrote for the last several days for you, to hope that it brings a morning beautiful peace to you. Beloved God, source of life, this morning we lift our hearts to you for every soul touched by violence and loss. Awaken within us a higher consciousness, that we may see beyond fear and anger and walk in the truth of unity. Grant us awareness, O Lord, for every and all, to recognize the sacredness of every life and to be present for those who grieve and suffer. Strengthen our faith, that even in darkness, we may trust your guiding light and believe that peace is still possible. Empower our will to choose compassion over hate, to build bridges instead of walls, and to act with courage and the service of love. And above all, Lord, fill us with love, for love is the balm that heals and forces the transformations and the eternal gifts that carry us back into your heart, your love, your arms. You, the Creator, Father, Mother, God, who made us. Thank you, God, for hearing this prayer this morning and for holding every broken heart and for reminding us that even in sorrow, your presence never leaves us. Amen. Namaste. Aho. Thank you. So I hope that you felt that prayer in one way or another. I hope it reigns far within. The complexity today is really hard for me. I was telling H Train, no matter how I tried to write today, the aftershock, I'm not going to say fail, but I kept not saying, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. And I kept trying hard to try to formulate an outline that just wouldn't come. I tried to formulate things to fit, to balance, but that couldn't come. So then what do I do? So I open up. Let me see if H-Train put our little thing up here. Hold on. Here's the phone number. Here we go. There. That's the phone number. If you're going to call into the studio, that's the number you want right there. The 720-619-0627. That's the number we're looking for right now. If you want to call in and give your piece, I understand there are levels of grief to process. And not everybody can process grief. And it's been challenging. I can only tell you for myself. 2 years ago, I was sitting doing some channel work with a couple of my masters. And one of those things that I received about 2 years ago was about AI. I told them, our world at large with AI is going to fall if we don't control it. They showed simple AI as people changing their hair. That's a natural AI, right? People having plastic surgery is AI. Women wearing makeup is AI, right? Changing any formality of the truth of the realization of a person. When that happens, it's interpretation. Do you believe in the will that that could possibly happen, or that person did such a thing? You didn't eyewitness it. Yes, cameras today are full of this. We look at those and we wonder, right? And we wonder, why was your first thought to take your camera out? I guess people born in the 60s, we don't think to pull the camera out first. I don't think that. I don't think, oh man, I got to pull this out. Right? I don't think that way. Maybe I should. I don't know. Should. There's that word. We should. Even I use it, and I know I don't like to use it. Take a gander. Go through social medias. Go through news things. Since Charlie Kirk has died, It is should. Come on, people. Should is a demand. Should is a demand. Stop with the should. I'm going to probably say some things today, but it's from my heart that some people are going to be shocked, I say. Some people would say, I still need healing. Some people might see it as, well, that's balanced. And some people would say it's rhetoric. And some people would call me unbiased or uncultured. But I think there is a truth of evolvement. And I think that there is truth of finding however you choose to find God, right? It may not be the Bible for you. The United States says, God bless America, and united for one and one for all through God. We are a God country. Doesn't say which God, which religion. So I want that to be very clear. And with that, we're going to take our first break. And today on our first break, we're going to play Rob Fess. It's called Rebirth, allowing those who had to depart for such cruelty actions, who was the catalyst. They knew that they were here for that. That is my spiritual belief, that your soul continues to live. It just transforms and rebirths into something else. And you are a warrior. You are a part of God's children here on missions, whether it's to learn life lessons and others too, to learn it, and you honored it and you accepted it. That's the hardest point, I think, with humanity, trying to accept that point of reality. So let me go to a break real quick. It's called Rob Fess, Rebirth. It's the transformation. It's the highest good of all.
the station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I hope you enjoyed that. That was Rob Fest Rebirth, and he creates these beautiful musical frequencies of healing. He's a veteran himself and knows how well music frequency can heal. Sometimes if you get into the right frequency or the can't think of the word, the notes are the, like the scale that he's playing in, or like if it's in a C, if the song's in a D or an E, I can't remember off the top of my head what they call that. But these are all ways to realign our vibrational patterns within our body. So healing becomes when justification renders within us. Good morning, Go Tigers. He's like, I'm going to be listening tomorrow to you, Tony. You bring me joy. You make me smile. Yeah. So I had many discussions like you all through family, friends. And there's some disbelief that our human side is sacred through all religions, really. Through all, gotta get that sun off me. I'm baking up here in the mountain. It's a little hot. And I feel that when we have no internal awareness or love for humanity, you'll see those people posting. They've lost their way. Father, forgive them. They have lost their way. To write such cruelty of a death, to write such responsiveness as resentment because of somebody who spoke about God, somebody who spoke about their right to feel love for everybody. And the one person who I thought about, and I know some might get upset with this, I don't see somebody's color as different. I don't see somebody's birth different. I don't see somebody's death different. I look at birth and death as a circle of life and praise to God that we are capable of honoring each and every soul of our brother and sisters is truly who they are, for no matter what. Our lesson here in our life as humanity is to find that pride and honor, right? I chose Martin Luther King. When I saw this, I felt so much of Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk. And people are like, oh, they're too... I've gotten ridiculed for this already. If you saw my little 5-minute, MJ helped me flip this. It's hard to help people flip when you're not healed yourself. And I say that about therapists, teachers, scholars. What are you teaching the minds of these children? Why in different administrations are different rules to teach? Where's the anger, the hatred, and the flow? When I start seeing psychologists, teachers, and everybody else on a picket line, you should not be teaching. Oh, MJ, it's a freedom of speech. Exactly. But what are you, especially as like anybody in mental health, what are you really brainwashing these people with? Do you think for 1 second that Charlie Kirk was not a man of the cloth or a man who wore a uniform? I'm going to get you some comparisons, and I'm going to show you where my thought is. What did Tony say? I appreciate you, ma'am. I always like to show. Thanks, Tony. So both Martin Luther King, this is what I wrote. Both Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk stand as voices rooted in faith and purpose. They were guided by their love of God and for this nation, each in his own rightful time, his own perspective and era, and where we are in our timeline of where we have to adjust, balance, and align with each and every one of us. Each in his own time has spoken with conviction and clarity, not to divide, however, to awaken the faith and the responsibility in others. They both share a deep belief in America's promises and have worked to inspire the younger generations to rise with courage and vision, both of them. Through their words and leadership, they have built movements larger than themselves, larger than our world at large, showing that one voice, grounded in faith of God, love of country, and can ripple out in the shape of hearts, minds, and souls of our future. Both of those men. I understand people are putting up things. You were silenced. Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Ronald Reagan, Trump. Every time there is a movement. But these two hurt. One because of racism and biasm, and the other one because following his choice of living through a religion. Both of them were God-loving. But both of them had movements, and both of their movements connected differently, but it's different times and different missions, if I may say that, without being upheavaled here. They are both strong men of Christian faith who openly expressed their love of God, like we just said, the foundation to guide their work, their movements in life to bring awareness. Remember I said that word in the beginning? Awareness. My goodness, if everybody would be aware of what they say, how they act, what they're posting, and not through ego and judgment, not through slanderous comments. Be aware. I don't know what episode it was, but I made an awareness that said, do you people even realize what your words are doing to those who are traumatized? Do you realize those people who put on a uniform for you? Each of these beautiful men didn't put on a uniform, but they were there for you, for the wave that came with that movement. It just is, I made a comment. Stop deleting history. Learn from it. We have to learn from, my God, we have to learn from history. We can't destroy it. We can't have judgment towards it. They were catalysts for our foundation that we live today. That awareness is supposed to bring teaching. That awareness is not to ridicule and throw the books out of the library, mishandle the books, burn the statues, take the statues. That is an ugly movement that I do not want to be part of, ever. And if I am, as they say, you just created millions of Charlies, you just created one here, a Charlie, a Martin Luther King inside of me, a movement of love, a movement of awareness, of understanding. Not everybody is on the same playing field that you are. Where is your humanity? Where is your grace? With grace and humility, God, I serve. Right? The veterans, this is a veteran station. It is man, God, country. Right? You gave that oath. And so for those veterans who are depleting any administration, you have not learned. You are unhealed. And you need somebody who loves you and can help you become aware You know, both of these gentlemen had such an inspiring, strong, motivated for the youth. It is the youth of your country that watch what you do. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I was having my babies, and it was fun because you got to watch T-ball. You got to learn them playing mini football, fishing derbies for the youth soccers, little ballerinas with their little tutus that can't follow their steps, that we laugh with enjoyment and love and grace. You are the teacher of those children as the parent. You make the decision of how these children are being raised. You are responsible for understanding where you're going to put your child at schools. What are they learning? Are you fighting for your child to learn balance and alignment? Or are you just letting them go to school? There are some states that are so radical. I can't. And I'm not saying either radical left or right. Notice that. You're just radical. You're not balanced. So do I think that people who don't understand humanity should be out of a public view of teaching? Absolutely. You have no business there. If you are a therapist and you're on a never-ending thread that is bitching, you don't belong there either. Get help yourself. Please. For the love of God, please. Understand, just because you want to have a voice, it doesn't mean you're right or wrong. It means this is my truth as I know it today. My truth as I know it today. Does that make sense? It hurts. You know, King was motivated by young civil rights activists because that's what we needed at that moment, that movement at the time. Kirk, on the other hand, he was engaging students and young leaders for today. Both were driven by purpose. And I think to myself, that purpose was God. Both of them. Both were driven by the purpose to build national organizations to advance their visions through God, through love, through balance, showing leadership that extends beyond themselves. I got to take a break. I always forget my little breaks. Listen, I encourage you to please call in, write in. We'll talk about it. We'll write it. And we'll go from there. But if you don't start opening up and speaking, that hurt is going to leave skeletons in our breadbasket. And then you're going to see anger, resentment, outrage, more riots, more picketing. How many people have you seen displayed through the world, from South Korea all the way around the world? They are going back to God. Whichever God that is to you. But God, have that faith. I'm going to play another beautiful song. And because I talked about Charlie Kirk, and because I talked about these beautiful people leading the way of a movement, Martin Luther King Jr., I'm going to play Dallas Alexander, To a Hero. Because in my eyes, to stand up without being a soldier with a uniform, but you put the armor on, my friends. You put the armor on when you stand with courage and pride. We'll be right back. I think so.
To a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. And to a hero, and the love you left behind, I'll try my best to pass it on till the end of my time. And to a hero, you're gone, but I have no doubt that you have made it home. And to a hero, taken way too soon, over there in that dusty country, an Afghan afternoon. To a hero, and the little one you left behind, I hope he grows up with your passion, I'm sure he will with time. And to a hero, a warrior through and through, you were taken way too early, what can we do? We can try to keep your spirits alive. We can try to be nice. We can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. All the heroes taken from our lives, at home or in those countries, fighting for what's right. Now we can do this for you and all your kin, and make this world a better place for your kids to grow up in. And we can try to be true, admit when we don't have a clue, and be there with the ones we love until our time is good and through. And we can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. Yeah, we can try to keep your spirits alive, and we can try to be nice. We can not take for granted all the beautiful things in our lives. We can be the change we want to see, and we can listen to the wind pass through the trees. We can speak the words we know are true for our heroes. This is what we can do. Well, to a hero, I say, I hope to see you again on some sunny day. All right, to a hero.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
To a hero, exactly. Dallas Alexander, these men were heroes. Anybody who was assassinated in a movement because of the voice to try to do better for humanity, what a hero. May not have boots and dog tags, but put the uniform on. So we were talking about history, educating ourselves from history. But when people try to change history or remove history, or the foundations of which our beautiful country have been born to, and I hear people saying it has to change, it has to evolve. And I agree. But I don't think it has to change or evolve radically, right? When stuff tries to change abruptly and radically, and the majority of the people are not with it, then it becomes divisive. It becomes divisional. Sometimes I think for those people with that type of moment, when it becomes that divisional, we have to look. Yes, I understand there is more to it. Yes, I understand there was a deep state. Yes, I understand there were corrupt people in office. Yes, I understand that all politicians. You can tell me anything you want. But every single person who you just said you elected, the majority. So what was your vision? Well, when that vision isn't being heard, and that vision that you no longer want, at what point do you stand up? At what point do you go to the podium like Martin Luther King Jr. or Charlie Kirk or Trump or Abraham Lincoln? Right? Where is that? Where does that come from? How come you didn't do it? But yet you want to be the memes or the nasty behind. That's not humanity. I love you all, but that's not humanity. And we need to learn this, and we need to heal ourselves. Because when you can't even ask a question without being polarized, to ask a question on social media or a forum, and somebody wants to just berate you, no, sir. No, ma'am. Where's your God-given voice? Where's your throat chakra? Is it overachieved, underachieved? Where is it? Where's your heart? Where's your compassion? Where's your mindfulness? Where's the awareness of Father forgiveness? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have answers. I know quite a few people this week very challenged. Very challenged. Sometimes when the healer isn't healed, the healer can't help. Sometimes when the healer has to sit in meditation to figure out what is happening, where's this movement, right? Why is it such drastic? So then I did this little thing, right? I went on to what everybody's been using, and I want to read you something. I went to this TWOCPT. I'm going to mind every single person out there. These robots, these computers are programmed by an individual's way of thinking. I'm going to say it again. These robots, these assistants, these computers, these systems are all implemented by a man and how his conscious thinks. The reason I'm telling you that is because when I first asked GPT, why is there so much anger about Charlie Kirk throughout the United States? Right? Do you know what ChatGPT gave me when that was the question? It said he had polarizing political positions. His media's presence was visible to conservative media only, so his words debates reached the view audience, amplifying reactions to the left. Perceived divisiveness and global reach of U.S. politics, because the U.S. politic debates influence worldwide discussions, social media, universities, activism. His statements got picked up beyond America due through God. And I said, now, was Charlie Kirk violent, sarcastic, or just a holy man trying to preach value, goodness, and understanding? Where is the division? ChatGPT again. He really wasn't generally described as violent. He's not known for using physical agitation or aggression. But yet, people's perception of him depends a lot on where they stood politically. He was politically imbalanced. I'm reading ChatGPT. He was politically imbalanced. Okay, what I know is he didn't believe everything that Trump stood for. He didn't agree 100% because it wasn't in his nature to agree with 100% of it. So I'm asking the supporters. They often see him as a man of faith and patriot. From the lens, you could see that he was preaching. He was, and this is quoted, he was preaching goodness and understanding. But the critics see him as sarcastic, combative, and polarizing. ChatGPT. So ChatGPT goes on with neutral observers. They say that he's a skilled communicator who mixes conviction with sharp rhetoric, but there's the word but, that his style often emphasizes winning arguments and rallies by being biased and bullying. ChatGPT. It also says, so he isn't really seen as a holy man in the traditional sense, more as a political activist who blends religious themes with conservative politics. So I said, well, thank you, GPT. Now, can you give me something that isn't biased? You know what it did? It says, got it. And it gave me a thumbs up. Here's a neutral side-by-side comparison of how Charlie Kirk is generally viewed. These are the two comparisons, ChatGPT. Perspective, faith, and values. Supporters say that a Christian voice defending biblical principles, traditional family, and morality. I wish I knew how to. Now you're going to learn. MJ's not IT swabby. I wish there was a way I could just grab this chart and give it so you could see it. So I don't have to, you can literally see. But the critics often say he uses religion as a political tool rather than as a spiritual guidance. His style and tones, the perspective. The supporters often are bold, confident, and unafraid to challenge political correctiveness. But the critics, who don't like Charlie, say he's sarcastic, combative, and sometimes dismissive toward opposing views. I have never seen Charlie Kirk be combative. I've seen him say, can I talk? Can I talk? Sir, can I talk? I mean, to try to get a word in over people screaming. I just have a very difficult time with that. The next one says mission. The perspective was, what was the mission? Of course, the people who follow Charlie Kirk wants to protect America's freedoms, inspire young people, and keep traditional values alive. The person who thinks the opposite way says he spreads divisive rhetoric, focuses on cultural wars, and fuels polarization. The impact. The impact mobilizes conservatives, especially students, to engage in politics and faith. The two foundations this country was born on. The opposing contributes to misinformation or simplified arguments that increase anger and division. Public image. A patriot, a truth teller, and defender of Christian America. The opposite is a provocateur, media personality, and cultural warrior. In short, GPT says, he's not generally described as violent, but he is seen very differently depending on whether someone resonates with his worldviews or not. I then asked the question, is the critic speaking truthfully? Is it a biased opinion? Is it an unhealed version? I've never seen one time that Charlie was combative or sarcastic, and I've seen those opposed to speak cruel or speak slander or attack him. It says, that's a thoughtful point, MJ. What you've noticed reflects something important. How people interpret the same behavior often depends on their perspective and values. And then I'm going to add, and how healed are you? Where does it come from? Where does it stem from? You know, the movement of Gen X people, we have to take our part in this. We have to stop dividing your social peers. Stop it. Father, forgive me. I may have not seen it this way. I may not have interpreted this way. I may not have grounded myself to the highest vibration possible of humanity. In God we trust. That is the slogan. In God we trust. I see preachers constantly. They want to always say they're a preacher, they're a reverend, they're a pastor, they're a blah, 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 but yet they're biased in their delivery. No, I'm sorry. I get choked up. I listen to some of this. I used to go to church every Sunday, every holy day. I was Roman Catholic, born and raised in it. Till I was 28. When I realized I'm conforming not to God, I'm conforming to interpretation of man. That's hard. A man who's trying to preach the Bible. Thanks, Beth. Oh, I see you guys. I'm sorry. I should be looking down here. Thanks, Ava. Yeah, I know. I just don't know how to function it to put it on. And I know we have a new little notes thing, and I know it's the problem from, I want to get it out of my phone to there. MJ sometimes doesn't think that well because I'm more in prayer, or I'm more trying to balance humanity rights than I really care about IT. That is my confession. I will confess to that. It's okay. It's who I am. Thank you, though. I do appreciate it. And I know H-Train's like, MJ, all you had to do is put it on the thing and we could have put it on the screen. I get that too. You know, let's look at soldiers. Station I'm on. Let's look at these soldiers who are unhealed. They're angry. They're hurt. Their bodies have been, and mind, not just their bodies, their body, mind, soul has been manipulated to fight ego and judgment, which is the hardest thing on man. Imagine if you didn't put a uniform on, you're not a service to others, or you are not part of the first responders. Always caring about man. Always caring about man. Always loving man. Always doing the right thing for man. And I see that. I love you, Beth. I would used to post things and I would get slammed. Even by kids I grew up with. Same school. Same little town. And yet they think so different. You know, people say it takes a village to raise a child. I believe Danville was that in the 70s and the 60s and some of the 80s. I don't think it is that way now. It got too big. But there are acquaintances now. First I was going, oh, they're all friends. They're all my brothers and sisters of God. If you have somebody in your group who can't stay balanced and their ideologies are so far to the extremities, either way, I get in a lot of discussions about this. I get in people who can't understand it. I get in people who want to just be ugly and retaliate with strong verbal words, sarcasm, brutalities. And when they ask them, but why do you think that way? They can't give you anything. Why? I can tell you why. Because the teachings before and the teachings now are so different. Instead of looking at humanity, let's look at our teachers. Let's look at the movements that go on. Let's look at who's taking your children in daycare or teaching them in schools or universities that is not balanced. The retrospect of movement needs to be subtle. And if you, as a human right now, even though you believe in God, and I think this is where Charlie Kirk kept getting into issues, was our brothers and sisters in LGBTQ. When you have these feelings that you don't feel like you're in that body, I don't think as a child transgender should happen. Should. I just said should. Okay, I want every single person, when I say the word should, that's a demand. Get rid of that damn word. Should. Nobody should. No. No, you need to feel. You need to know where that path is. And that word has been etched so deep. If you listen to the news media, you listen to social media, there it is. Should. Nobody should do anything. Don't demand that. And I won't demand it of you. So you hear me on everything going, damn that word. Why? Because am I passionate that I use it? And I really, 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 really want you to feel from love? I don't know. However, please be cautious of the words you use, right? That word, I can't explain how passionate I am on some things. You feel it. I know you do. I can't see the division to a point. I turn off my radio. I turn off my TVs. I turn off my phone and I go for a walk on my beautiful mountain. I get lost. And every time I do, I find such glorious and praise of knowing I was like, oh, I didn't know I had an elderberry tree. And then I look at all the healing properties of that beautiful elderberry tree that grew wild. Or I walk down my lane to go into the next property that's on the other side. And the ditches for the water are filled with chicory. Beautiful purple chicory. Medicinal plant again. By God doing. By God, not man. God. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Whatever religion or spiritual practice you believe in that is God, then look for the awareness of the beauty that he brings. Look for the awareness that cultivated you to stay within that passion. You can't fight a war behind a screen. You can't win a debate behind the screen because the person on the other side of that screen is empowered because nothing can hurt him behind the screen. I don't know what the total is now, and somebody can please Google it and bring it up. But there's a hell of a lot of people being removed for their slanderous attacks and their jovialness about human life. They deserved it? No, nobody deserves that. Did our beautiful Ukrainian, I can't never remember how to pronounce her name. And I look at it all the time. I'm like, dude, the name Irina, Iryna, Irina, most beautiful woman. Look at her numbers. The 22nd of August. 2-2. See that? How that went, bam, it just pointed 2-2. What was that worth? And then this is what I do. Wow, that had to mean something. Why would it be on that date? Just like 9/11. What does 9/11 mean? Right? So then you look up these numbers and you're like, God help me, angels help me. Where's the message? Where's the signs? Where are they? 2-2 equals a 4. Anytime you see the number 4, it's always angels are present. Just when you see the number 4, they're confirming that the angels are near you and want you to know that they are ready to assist. The power word was faith for that day. Faith. Huh. You can't make that shit up. You can't. And Schoolhouse Rock, I know people today may not know Schoolhouse Rock, but I grew up Saturday morning Schoolhouse Rock. The shot heard around the world. That was a Schoolhouse Rock. Was talking about the American Revolution. The shot heard around the world. I heard people claim, let's go to war. Cancel, clear, delete. When you say stuff like that, you've never been to war, buddy. You've never been to war. You've never put that uniform on or those boots. You have no idea what you're asking for. So when I hear people say, you're going to start a civil war again, stop it. Cancel, clear, delete. For God's sake, stop it. It's ugly. You think losing one man's ugly? You're going to say, but MJ, then how am I supposed to protest? How am I supposed to go up against? You know what? I just saw 1.1 million people stand in the streets in England and in Korea. United States, visuals, the amount of people at the Kennedy Center. The shot heard around the world. Let's not have another American Revolution. Let's have an awareness of justification of balance and aligning with our brothers and sisters. Because every state teaches, if I learned one thing, every state balances and brainwashes your mind when you were born. That area, if it was a Democratic state or Republican state, you are almost like, if it was predominantly those, that's what I'm saying. Then you learned at a very small age the justifications of what you were. For me, I grew up Democrat. I grew up Democrat with my family in the 60s, in the 70s. When I realized that there was a movement with the Democrat Party in the 80s, I became Republican. The military happened to help me see that. There was a movement in the 80s. The same movement that's existing because it has to have balance. You know, you want these people, some of you want to put in socialism or communism. My husband's family's from Cuba. They suffer. They suffer in Cuba, the family that's still there. With communism and socialism. More socialism. You heard about it. How could you vote for that? Do you want to stand in a line? Do you want to stand in a line for a bag of 20 pounds of rice and most of it's rocks, sticks, and leaves that on Friday your entertainment is dropping that rice bag on a table and picking out those things? That's what Cuba does every Friday. Open your eyes. That's hard for me. What does that say? I think there was a blood moon somewhere in that mix. Yes, there was. Yes. Oh, not even was it a blood moon? It was an eclipse. I said it last Monday on the show. The big super eclipsal moon. It drastically changes the circulunar rhythm. Why moon? Why? I think I did it 2 or 3 episodes ago back, but yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of plays and factors, but there's also so many unhealed people in our world. And it's sad. I'm watching people who I considered them so close and dear to me. And now I'm like, let me help you. I'm here for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone. Let's balance this. You think they do? No. They just want to slam you and be ugly on the forums. And then you have people, be careful, because then you have people who play, the sheep, the wolf in the sheep's clothing out there. I found one of them. Found one to be a pastoral, but yet making such slanderous comments or starting irritation online. To the fact I had to put, really? You don't believe that? Question marks, like, I don't know how many. I was surprised he answered. I was even surprised it was there. Then I thought, well, it can't be the same person. Oh, but it was. In just a news form. And you wonder, what are you preaching? Are you preaching God? Because this doesn't sound like that. There was division on the inauguration with the pastor or the reverend at the time when she spoke. Remember speaking about that? This is not the time or place. If you truly have something that is not good, and I was there, let me tell you, what is it, 8-10 years ago? I was that social person going, open your eyes, think blah, blah, blah. Not no more. I had to heal that in me. For me to be angry, that means there's something unhealed in me. Mary Jo doesn't play that game no more. MJ doesn't play that game no more. It's so divisive. Not even with my own family. I'd rather not go. I'd rather stay on my mountain and smell earth, grind into earth. Honestly, when I see people who are vengeful to rip people's signs or kick people's signs down or destroy memorials or just speak slanderous words, and when you ask them, why do you have hate so bad? And you have people who hate and don't even know the man or girl. How can you hate something that you haven't even spoken to just because of the grounds that you stand on? Have you ever thought about your grounds that you stand on may not balance with somebody else? Have you put it out there? How are your tones, your words, your actions treating you? Maybe you think that you're right and everybody else is wrong. There's a lot of egocentric people out there, right? I tell people all the time, you have to live by God's words, no matter what religion God spoke to you from that balanced you. United States is a really young country if you consider Africa and Egypt and all the other countries. We're the youngest. Christianity is the youngest religion there is. And not only is it Christianity, unfortunately for Christians, your Bible has been ripped and shredded and interpreted by man over 490 times. Why is that? What did you find? What did these people who wrote the Bible find out that was different from the other version and the other version and the other version? Why does Christianity have to have 10,000 million different types of Christianity? I said it before. You need to believe in God, not man's interpretation of God. God didn't make your chairs. He didn't make your tables. Man made those. That's why they break. That's why they don't hold up in time. Because no matter what God creates, he allows it to go extinct. He allows that perception, I guess. It's okay. Right? Because the way I have been taught and the way I heal and the way I know balance, and you can get along with everybody unless there's so much hatred for love in their heart, and it's okay too. I gotta take another break. I gotta take another break. We're gonna go next, Because You Love Me by Jess Muse. It's about her giving back to those who need the assistance and loving them for who they are at the Bethesda. I'll be right back. You're listening to mbradio.us. My name is MJ. I'm at the world of conscious, positive thinking. If we could all be conscious of our words and our words to turn positive, there'd be more flowers and love and less shots heard around the world and burials. Trust me.
I wouldn't be here if not for your faith, if not for your love, if not for your saving grace, I'd be a loner, forgotten and small, climbing a mountain that's too big and too tall. But because you love me, because you care, I can do anything, anytime, anyhow, anywhere. Because you love me, because you're there, I am unstoppable, undeterred. I have heard an answered prayer. Because you love me, I couldn't stand here if not for your strength, if not for your hope. I may have lost my way, and I would just wander in search of my place, caught up in the race. I'd be lost in time and space, but because you love me, because you care, I can do anything, anytime, anyhow, anywhere. Because you love me, because you're there, I am unstoppable, undeterred. I have heard an answered prayer. Because you love because you love me, because you care, I can do anything, anytime, anyhow, anywhere. Because you love me, because you're there, I am unstoppable, undeterred. I have heard an answered prayer. Because you love because you love me. Because you love me.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
That's my kind of duck with the heart. That's my kind of duck right there. I love that little beaker squeaker with my heart. So we're talking about all ways to balance, and we're talking about how we fit in. And sometimes people don't know because they're conditioned not to know balance. They're conditioned to a way of thinking that you don't, right? Opposites. And you're looking at them going, how do you even think that way? How can I don't understand it. I talk about my little town of Danville. It's no longer a little town. I actually live in a smaller town. But when I grew up, I was brought up to trust everybody until they proved me wrong. Because I had love for everybody. Grew up in a God family. Trust and love everybody. You know, one of my dad's things is don't step on my toes. When you step on my toes, you're in trouble. And you better be able to be quick and run that first 10 yards when you step on my toes. That was his warrior in him as a teacher. And every major city I got deployed to, what a hard lesson in the military, right? So besides getting out of my small little town and jumping into my Harlem girls, who I had to go with, was a huge awakening. You can read some of my, or listen to the other ones. I'm not going to get into all that. And it's called Basic Training. I was pulverized. I was beaten and forced to do something that I didn't know how to do. And in that day and age, it was like, well, you're going to learn quick, aren't you? Because you'll be physically punished until you learn quick. Then I started losing my trust. And then I struggled with trust since I've been 18 years old. Struggled. Why? I can't trust. It was the hardest thing. I didn't have fear. Fear was never like, I even went to my grandmasters and I don't have fear. Where's my fear? She goes, what do you do? I go, no. She goes, you do. You have fear to trust. I step back. Fear to trust. I'm like, I trust God. I love God. She goes, it's not God. You have that trust in you. You fix the trust of the heart. One of the petals of the heart is trust. But I was born that way. I was born to trust. So what the hell happened? Well, you know, I went to Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base. I got my house broken into. I got abused in Mississippi, actually Louisiana. I started realizing some of these bigger cities hold a lot of different values. So I learned not to trust people. The biggest one was Miami. And I think I say that because I spent more time in Miami, right? Since 1988, I basically lived in Miami back and forth because of hurricanes or whatever, not having, but. And the melting pot of different religions, different ethics, different morals that come through the international place of Miami. And it has grown to be a place that a lot of misgivings and unjustness occurred for me, to the point I no longer trusted anybody who came in front of me. You had to prove your worth. Wow. Here I am trying to figure trust out. Trust. And it goes so far with love because it comes from your heart chakra. Trust. The only person I trust in this world to the infinite that I never lost was God. I always trusted. I always had faith. Never feared death. Never. Because I knew that no matter what point my journey is over, that Father, Mother, God loved me so much, those gates would open. I had that faith. I had that trust. But for humanity, I started losing it. I started losing the one foundation that made me who I am today. That unequivocal balance within my heart of love for humanity, for God, for country. Sometimes I think some of these far-sighters lost that as well. I say that with caution. because there are some very, very beautiful people on both sides. Tulsi Gabbard has taught us that. RFK Jr. has taught us that. There's quite a few people who are teaching us that, right? We always, in our realm of teaching, we always say, really? Coincidence? You think that's a coincidence? Coinkydinks? And then you come back and you go, you can't make that shit up, as I dub Miss Kim. You can't make it up. Where am I getting at, MJ? Well, let me tell you where we're getting at. I looked up the spiritual meaning of Martin, the name Martin. The spiritual, you can do it. You can do it by yourself. This is on AI, not ChatGPT. Of course, it's somebody else's version. But I want to read to you. Martin, the spiritual meaning of the name Martin, rooted in the Latin name Martinus, is derived from the Roman god of war, Mars, signifying of Mars, warlike or warrior. I want you to remember the name warrior. This connection bestows connotations of strength, courage, and protection. People born as a Martin will have those bestowed connections. Again, Martin means strength, courage, and protection. The spiritual significance is also tied into the legacy of Saint Martin of Tours, a compassionate figure who became a bishop, symbolizing humility, generosity, and compassion for the vulnerable. Who's that sound like? Martin Luther King Jr.? Just saying. The divine favor of the word Martin is in ancient Roman culture. Naming individuals after deities was a way to honor them and seek their favor, implying a desire for protection and valor. Well, that's funny. So tell me then, now I'm going to give you two names, and this is really fun. So then I said, since I'm comparing the two, I wrote in, then what does the name Charles mean spiritually? Charles, not Charlie, Charles. Spiritually, the name Charles originated from the Germanic word of free man. It embodies freedom, inner strength, and resilience. The names associated with being free suggest a spiritual liberation or the capacity to live according to one's own truth, while its connection to strength points to a person who can overcome spiritual or personal challenges. How many times do you hear Charlie, not Charles, Charlie, say the word? We have a spiritual movement in God here. We have a spiritual movement. It's all over. Spiritual, not religious, spiritual. There's a meme out there, and it showed a little jug, and I name this all the time. It's like a little tiny little bottle, maybe like this, right? And it says religion. Then it shows another bottle, okay? And that little bottle then says spirituality. And then on top of it came this big freaking jar on top of all of it, and it says consciousness. Where is your consciousness? Now, nobody ever called him Charles Kirk except for his birth. They always called him Charlie, right? His name's Charlie. Now I'm going to read you what is the spiritual meaning of the name Charlie. I read you Martin, remember what those words were. I just read Charles. Now I'm going to read Charlie. Spiritual name Charlie is not in the Bible, but it is a diminutive of the German name Karl, spelt with a K. K-A-R-L. Meaning free man. Didn't we already hear that? And did we already hear warrior? They just combined the meaning of Martin and Charles. And we have Charlie. Awareness, conscious awareness. This is what I'm getting at. The meaning inspires spiritual freedom. We heard that word before. personal autonomy, heard that word before, and embodies a spirit which seeks independence and self-determination. The name can also signify being an, wait for it, army leader, reflecting a sense of strength and the ability to lead others towards a movement or a cause. You can't make this shit up. How fitting that he went from Charles to the public eye of Charlie. I knew a Charlie in my life, and he's still beautiful. Plays for a band called Day Street. I grew up with him. His name was Charles too, but we call him Charlie because he's the epitome of love and flow, playing his bass and honor. I've always honored how his music can take us into a different dimension, to a different sphere. As a warrior spirit, the name Charlie is associated with warrior and army leader, but it can be interpreted into a spiritual, as a readiness to fight for one's beliefs, stand up for justice, and lead others into conviction. The strength and the courage of the name derive from a German word for strong, free individual. Charlie embodies inherent strength and resilience, qualities that can be seen as spiritually uplifting and inspiring to others. Embracing a free spirit by the name Charlie is the name associated with a desire for a free-spirited nature, encouraging a person to be a trailblazer, to embrace their authenticity, individual journey, which is a spiritual idealism for many. They give the names such as Charles Darwin, King Charles I, and Charlie Kirk. Wow. Just wow. I love seeing connections when that's the part of the awareness. When you have healed the root center and you have healed your sacral center and you're now healing within your solar plexus, and if you could be taking the chakra classes or you could be taking light therapy into seeing the consciousness, you become aware of every living, non-living thing, everything. Everything is energy, everything is movement, and you start realizing that you are in the world of enlightenment to God. It's like an intuitiveness that we are brought. The secrets of the universe was once said to be hidden because man would destroy it. Do you know where they hid that? It's your soul, man. It's your Akashic records. It's in you. But you have to fight your judgment and your ego and your conditions of human patterns and old belief systems in order to find it. You know, I find government administrations toy and play with the mental mind, and it's cruel. I know some of you won't believe this, and it's going to be very hard for you to accept what I'm about to say. Good morning, Matt. I hope your donors, I hope that, listen, my dear friend Matt, he needs a donor, folks. Get onto his page. Click on him. He's a podcaster. We call him Maverick. And we just need to help him to create a balance in his life. Wishing you well, my friend. So back to conditioned mechanisms. When your culture believes in a stance, I can listen to something and love the vibration. I love the feel. I love the rhythm. I love the intonations. I love the tone. I love the frequency. That means something inside of me is being lifted. That means something inside of me is healing. That means something inside of me is filled with love and thankfulness. But when you look further than what you want to take out of the music and who the artistry is playing that music and their interpretation, it could set you back a couple of paces. Remember, interpretation, whether through artistry, poetry, voice, tones, language, it is how you feel. I always love when people say, oh, I can't do alcohol, I'm a bad drunk. Is truth coming out? is the unconscious of your shadows coming out to try to heal when you are under influence? Maybe. I've seen so many people write, unfriend me now, just unfriend me. Are we children? Are we children? You're not my friend no more. I have discussions with my own family who go, you cannot believe what they wrote. And then you're saying, I'm just unfriending them. And then you're going to tell me, stop that. You can stop notifications. When is it that we believe in words that say, you're only as good as your weakest link? And you say it, but you're saying things you don't really believe in? Are you saying things that don't make sense? You're only as good as your weakest link. Bring your weakest link and you raise them up and everything will be fine. Will be balanced. How about thinking maybe that weakest link doesn't jive within the energy that you're putting off? And you can say to me that that's on them, MJ. No, that's on you. That's on you too. When you see it, sense it, say it. Okay, I understand you're not with this. Can we discuss it? Why? What hurts you? Or is the hurt on me and I don't see it? This is balance, folks. You don't have to agree with somebody if it's not in your path or journey. I tell everybody, when people want me to heal them and I turn them down, they get pissed off. I'm sorry. I don't have the energetic experience or the same energetic path that you are looking for. So we could go through all of this and you could waste your money and time. And the bottom line is I don't have what it's going to take. I think sometimes psychiatrists need to vet. Not everybody is going to be your cup of tea. And it's okay, because that's what makes the world go round. We cannot be uniformly everybody the same. No, that's unjust. Right? I can't do that. I have a problem with that. Sometimes I feel like I'm rambling, especially when I don't have my notes. I told you in the beginning, my notes today, they're all over the place. But my heart wanted to just let you know that my heart hurts, not just for Charlie Kirk, not just for Irina or the children just praying, or any other manslaughter, senators who are getting slaughtered, husbands of senators. It's senseless. You're killing your own people. Unifying, uniting, bringing together. It bothers me that I have people from all over the world trying to tell me how bad our president is. You don't even live here. The justification, why? Because he wants to uniformly not have our taxes paying your life over there? That's the bottom line. I'm not into that either. And then I tried to make justifications of free will and choices, and how free will and choices ends up just being a project of mass anxiety and stress for most. And then they're like, you're just supposed to shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. No, you're not supposed to just shut your mouth. You're supposed to talk with love and tones to balance, understand, and align. Not just keep quiet. It doesn't work. When other people fuel your fire, it's time to look at those people fueling it. What are they putting in there? It's not love, right? Sure as hell isn't love. A little sickening. So don't be a toddler. Ask your friend, why are you so unhappy? Why are you so hurt? Why do you not? And they're gonna say, MJ, every time you ask that, because I just do. Exactly. I know the words. I hear them myself when I try. But at least I give it 100% of my will to figure out, why are you unhealed? Why can't we balance? Why can't we both understand that you're thinking one way of the brain and I'm thinking of another of the brain, right? It's like people who are just born giftedly smart. But damn, man, I want to be born giftedly smart. I want to be in the inheritance club too. Well, that's entitlement. Where did Gen X and Gen Zs go wrong with entitlement? Ask yourself that. We, as all of us, created the wave and the notion. And it breaks my heart for people who one administration says, you can be transgender and you can do this and you can do this and you can do this and open borders. And then the next one comes in and says, close those borders. And now you have people trapped. Trapped. That's wrong. It's wrong to have them trapped like that because of man, ego, man's judgment, man's interpretation, man's law. Get back to God law, and then we won't have people trapped or have mental issues. Well, I can't say you won't, but cancel, clear, delete that. But do you understand what I'm saying? You can't. It's like here you go. It's like the child going to the mother, and the mother says no, and then you go to the father and say, "Can I do?" And the father says yes. Right? Child got the way. The child's winning because it got its way. But what did the child just do? The child just sided two people because it wanted to get its entitled way. Where's your child? Do you have inner child trauma? Do you have inner child distress? Do you have inner child problems that are forming mental complexities that you need help with? Only a child's mind would try to figure out, how can I get the best of what I need? And if it was no, then the debate should have been with the no. May I ask why? I had a hard time with my children growing up. I didn't like the word no. I didn't like forcibly punishing. I didn't like forcibly doing. I always ask them questions. Do you believe? Do you feel? Do you understand? It wasn't a yes or a no. And my children, it was funny, especially in those middle school ages where they try to get their independence and want to do the party thing, or they want to go out with their friends, right? God love, I would not want to be a parent today in this world. Scary. It is very scary. But when we can, as a parent, as a teacher, as somebody of authoritative figuring for our life to understand, to learn, to participate, to move forward, I think it's now time for us in those roles or those positions, stop forcibly telling and stop showing the child that you have anger. Stop showing the child that authoritative figures always win. Why don't you try to find love and balance through God's eyes? And forgiving. Father, forgive them. They have lost their way. Father, forgive my part because I had to have a part to play in this. Right? Okay. So that's my show. It is about healing. It is about trusting how you feel, but understanding that others might not see you the way you're seeing through your eyes. And when that happens, it can either be divisive or it could be with love to understand. Charlie Kirk, I think one of his best things is there's only war when people stop talking. Open communication with love and straightforward movement will always balance on both sides, because it's the compassion of humanity with grace and humility that has been given. Please, I beg you, heal yourself, Don't be a person who cries the wolf all the time. I have a couple of friends that they're always in despair. And we, the people that voted, are making them in that despair, believe it or not, because they're allowing something and then they don't allow it. Right? Whose rights are you thwarting by honoring and allowing something and then you take it away? What's that cliche? The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Think about that. Humanity, judgment, ego. They can balance when we all heal. Affirm, validate, and love the people near you. It's not going to kill you to say, I'm sorry for our discussions or our arguments or our disagreements that might have gotten away from us. What the energy this world is feeling, spiritually, physically, physiologically, logically, emotionally, whatever one you want to choose. I encourage you to use words that are not abusive, not discriminatory, and not of blame. Charlie Kirk was our catalyst. When you realize that catalysts exist in this world and you ask for that, and by all God glory, he is flying high and he is loving life. And the movement that he created, just like Martin Luther King, will be remembered for a lifetime. So try burning his books or ripping his statues or whatever other frame of mind of destruction that you think. It will never go away. Just like Egypt. Just like Zoroastrianism. These are things people don't talk about anymore, but they exist. And they have taught us to be who we are today. Humanity. So give love. Don't give ugliness. Give love. Don't give hatred. Right? Corinthians song. Make me a channel of your peace. No, it's not Corinthians. St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is peace. Right? Let there be pardon. Folks, I love each and every one of you. I'm affirming that because you allow my show every Monday to go on. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I also want to tell you, if you do need me, you need to reach out. It's there somewhere. I lost my banner. There it is. So that's the banner. TWOCPT at mbradio.us. You can always reach me. And just because people can never remember the .us part of MBR and it gets kicked back, I hear it all the time. I have now created a Gmail account for it. So if your brain always wants to go to Gmail, then so be it. But you can also DM me. I'm on almost every social media there is. I'll help you. I'll help you find a flip pattern and interpretation that is balanced and aligned for you to be able to love and harmonize together. I'm excited for the movement to take place. I'm excited to heal. And I'm excited to know that somebody's voice lended me a healing that I didn't even know that I needed in myself. So it's okay to go through your emotions. It's okay, but you need to justify every emotion that you feel. And that being said, it is lunchtime for this girl, and this girl loves each and every one of you. Thank you so much. I am MJ. I'm at the World of Conscious Positive Thinking. You can find me at TWOCPT. And you're listening to Military Broadcast Radio, where veterans get to have a voice. I will see you all next week. There's my age string.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.